Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's your favorite girl Hadiza Atta, and this is your favorite channel, Africa Living with Hadiza, a channel where we talk about African issues, African lifestyle, stories, our culture, and everything that's beautiful about Africa, and even the things that we don't like, because it's just as important. I'd like to thank everyone who has been watching. Your subscribing, your liking, and everything that you do on this channel means so much to me and helps me to grow so much. So thank you for constantly subscribing. And if this is your first time stopping by this channel, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you leave. So in today's episode, I catch up with one of my former friends from secondary school. He's lived outside Nigeria for a really long time, so he came back in town for his friend's wedding, and we had the opportunity to have a sit down and catch up on, some of the things that we've noticed in Nigeria, especially from the perspective of somebody like him who has lived abroad for a really, really long time. Some of the things that are happening in our society, how we can change and improve those things, and some of the pains we have, especially for the fact that we grew up in Nigeria. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. There is so much to learn, so much to learn, and I hope you take a thing or two from this episode, and I shall see you at the end of the video. Okay, so I'm here with my former classmate and friend. We've known each other for like 20 years. Oh my god, that's freaking long.
It is long.
So yeah, okay, so tell us about yourself. Introduce yourself to us and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely, and Hadiza, thanks for giving me the opportunity to do this. It's my pleasure to do it.
My pleasure too.
Still very happy seeing you after so long.
Yeah.
So a little bit about myself. My full name is Ojordumi Ejiofor.
Oh.
I'm from mixed parents. My mom is from Hungary. My dad is from Nigeria. Ibu, Delta State is where I'm from.
Okay.
Born in Nigeria. Lived in Kaduna, born in Gweremi specifically.
Wow.
ABU Hospital, Kaduna.
Oh.
And I pretty much have lived and did all my primary and secondary school education in Nigeria. I actually had 1 year in university, ABU Zaria,
Okay.
before I left to continue my higher education in Budapest, Hungary.
Okay.
Where I studied an undergraduate in business administration, with a specialization in finance, and started working with General Electric.
Okay.
And luckily had the opportunity to get on a special program they called the DSLP program back then. It's called the Distribution and Sales Leadership Program. It's basically a 2-year rotation program where every 6 months you change roles and you change countries.
Wow.
So that really got me exposed to kind of an international, corporate, multinational work environment. So that was pretty much the foundations of my career. I got to spend time in Budapest. My first rotation was working in a warehouse where we had to manage inventories for finished goods for GE.
Okay.
And at the time, GE was making gas turbines, so all the components that go into creating gas turbines, which are used for electricity generation. Managing the inventory levels was my first rotation.
Okay.
Then I was transferred to Belfort in France. That's not too far from the Swiss border. And that role was a sales role, trying to get new business opportunities, working with our customers there. Then my third rotation was in Greenville, South Carolina. Very interesting. First time I was in America, actually, in the South. Made a lot of friends, got to understand, the dynamics of living in America.
Yeah.
And finally, my last rotation was back again in Budapest, Hungary, implementing what I started doing in South Carolina. For GE. After that 2-year rotation program, then I got my permanent assignment, and basically after 2 years then you get like a mid-level managerial role. And that was in Florence, Italy for 3 years.
Wow.
And that I would say was probably the best location I've been in. I still dream one day to own a house
to go back there.
in Tuscany, Florence specifically.
Okay.
So you see, that got me around Italy, and finally, after working 3 years there, I decided to take a break from working and do my master's.
Okay.
Had a fantastic opportunity to get a scholarship fully paid in MIT, Boston. It was a program in Boston and Spain, so it's kind of like a global transportation, logistics, supply chain program where you spend some time in MIT, but spend some time in Zaragoza, Spain, which is a big logistics hub in Europe. So that was also another interesting back to the classroom experience, and yeah, that kind of got me really into the supply chain world. And during that program, you had to write a 1-year master's thesis.
Okay.
And companies sponsor, because of MIT's reputation, companies give a project to MIT to say, hey, we are looking at segmenting our supply chain, or we're looking at diversification of risk management. And each student gets a project to work on. And basically, the project I worked on was kind of, they were impressed with it and said, hey, would you like to come on board, work for us and implement this thing you talked about in your project? So that kind of was my transition to Switzerland, Basel.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm working in Switzerland now, not for the same company that I got hired for, but now I'm working with Xylem Water Solutions as their senior director for distribution and order handling for Europe.
Wow.
And Xylem is a very interesting company because it has that corporate social responsibility aspect, trying to solve global water problems.
Okay.
But it's also a multinational company with a footprint all across the world, and yeah, quite an interesting place to work for. And that's where I am right now.
That's lovely. Like, you've had so much life experience in like a very short time. You know?
Yes, well, we're getting older.
I mean,
we're getting old. We're almost clocking 40.
True, there's that. But then, I mean, you've had the opportunity to travel a lot.
Yes, I have.
You know, you've had the opportunity to live in different places that a lot of people, like, I don't think I've traveled to half as many places as you have traveled, you know. So would you say that it's because you had that opportunity to go abroad that was like the opening of all of these things for you?
Mostly, yes.
Okay.
I would not have had the opportunity to have been around the world as I have, because most of my travel has been linked to work.
Okay.
When you work for a multinational company, especially in supply chain, you know, there are production sites everywhere, suppliers everywhere. So you get to do these business trips to locations, like, for example, Cambodia. Nothing would have taken me to Cambodia if
normally.
Exactly, if not work. But because of my background as well, my mom is European.
Okay.
So we didn't travel too much growing up, honestly speaking. I think I was in Europe 3 times, but I already had kind of a different perspective than a typical Nigerian, because my mom brought that other factor into the whole thing.
Okay.
So I've always had the, you know, vision to see the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, with my mother being European, I had the access with a passport to be able to travel to these locations as well. But I would say it's a combination of work trips.
Yeah. Now,
of course, private holidays as well. And also my background has been having a mother who comes from Europe.
Okay, I can understand that. So, you talked a lot about all the different places you've lived, all the different things that you've done. And I know that you were pretty much like a teenager in your late teens, early 20s when you left Nigeria. So you've lived in Nigeria for a while, and then you've also lived outside of Nigeria for a while. So I want you to tell us from these 2 different perspectives how life was for you in Nigeria, how life is for you there, you know, the differences you see between these 2 societies, and how, if possible, you know, you can see Nigeria becoming a country where people can have access to the kind of opportunities you've had without necessarily having to go somewhere else.
Okay. So I think, as I mentioned in my intro, this is where I was born. This is where I had my formative years and left exactly May 23rd, 2004.
Wow.
For Budapest to start again my education. And honestly speaking, at the time I left, it was not part of my plans to leave Nigeria. In fact, I was 100% sure that this is where I was going to do my education and live.
Yeah.
Because of the strikes that happened at the time, I think my parents had to make a decision and said, hey, when is this guy actually going to finish if things continue this
like
way?
this? Yeah.
So I literally finished my first year of ABU. But going back to growing up in Nigeria, I think it was an amazing childhood. I had excellent parents, diverse background. My father actually studied in Hungary. That's how he met my mother.
Oh.
So he did have that Western orientation, and my mother also had the same.
Okay.
But the fact is, we're still in Nigeria, where the culture is very heavy. So my father is still a typical Nigerian man.
Yeah.
But I would say, growing up, we went for Easter egg hunts.
Yeah.
There's actually a great association in Nigeria called the Niger Wives Association.
Okay, I think I've heard of it.
Woman, it doesn't matter if you're from Ghana or Niger or Egypt, as long as you marry a Nigerian man, you are entitled to be a member of this club, this association.
Okay.
And my mother has been a member since forever, founding her. People like Mrs. Mohammed from Zamani is also a member. Mrs. Ede is a member.
Okay.
So these people come from different countries all around the world, and they bring their cultures in, and they have kids. So Halloween will come from the States.
Yeah.
People from India will have Diwali festivals, Easter egg hunts. So these kind of things, we had them growing up as kids. And, these were things that, we watched on TV, but we could actually practice that here.
Yeah.
I remember even seeing elephant migration in Nigeria back in the day. I think in the 91 or 92, we went to go and watch that. And the country was so safe then that you could literally drive anywhere. We hiked outside. We could stop along the road. Every time we went from Kaduna to Delta State, we stopped along the road, looked at, mountains and what was around. So it was fun. And then I've always been that kind of person that, was easy to make friends, and I keep my friends close and maintain that relationship. So basically growing up was the typical Nigerian thing because of the family, but also a little bit of the Western experiences because of this Niger Wife Association. But yes, primary school, I did a lot of them. I did 4 primary schools: Labai, MT, Mary Travis, Sacred Heart, and then Turaki, where I finished primary school. And these changes of schools were for multiple reasons. Maybe bad behavior in one school, financial situation of my parents at the time, because we are really smack there in the middle class, or in some cases maybe even going down to the lower middle class. So I didn't have like an opulent access to everything kind of lifestyle. My parents were just normal workers. My mom was a nurse in Labai. My father was an engineer working for NTA, at the time. So nothing extraordinary, nothing flamboyant, but very happy, very content. The childhood was really something where at the age of 13, then I started to find, get more freedom.
Yeah.
I had my curfew and I need to come back and everything, but it was happy. It was one which I always look back on today and have fond memories of. But at 19, because of the strikes, I was very quickly said, hey, you're going to Budapest. My sister was there already, so go to Budapest. And that really gave me as an adult to see, hey, this is how it looks like outside of Nigeria.
Yeah.
And that is where you start to struggle with perspective and contrast.
Yeah.
Because you come from a place like Nigeria, and that is all you knew, literally. And now you go to another place. Hungary, it's part of the Western world, but it's still Eastern Europe. But looking there and saying, wow, things work. There's a transport system.
Yeah.
If I'm sick, I just walk into the hospital as a student and I'm covered.
Wow.
There's power. We take it for granted, these things in Nigeria that outside, but literally power was an issue here. That you come 2 weeks, transformer has blown because of me in one case where I fucked up something in the house and I blew up the transformer for the whole area. You can imagine that.
Wow.
2 weeks, no power. Water, you're independent. Security, Kaduna, you remember all those crises that you are even afraid somebody may come and attack you in your house.
Yeah, very
and
true.
then you go to Europe and see middle, the class people there. They don't have these fundamental worries that security, healthcare, where you're going to sleep.
Yeah.
There's an income. If there's no income, there's a social system to support. Yeah. So that becomes now the fundamental thing I start to ask is, why are we different?
Yeah.
What is the problem? You take a Nigerian like myself, put him there. We are just as bright, even better, because we have that culture of working hard.
True.
Why can't we make the country succeed, kind of thing? But we will come back to that point. But the transition there was fantastic, because now you are in a place where you grew up hard, and now life is softer. So that is now, you just have to take advantage of that. And luckily we had friends also from Nigeria studying Budapest. So quickly we found each other, stuck together, and we went through the experience of living in a foreign country together. And that experience means experiencing the food, the nightlife, the women are different. Even the first time I met a white woman, it was, my mom is white, but I see her as black. But first time you have a date with a girl, all those experiences were fantastic, and having that at the age of 19 was really great. So coming back to the contrast now as an adult between Europe or the world,
Yeah.
developed world, and Nigeria, it's huge, and I see that gap becoming bigger and bigger.
Very true.
Because Nigeria is probably the only country I can say, and I believe that fundamentally right now, that the status of Nigeria right now has retrogressed
Yeah.
from when it was in 93 or 95.
Yeah.
And at that time, if you remember, Hadiza, our parents were saying, this is the worst time, military,
Yeah.
Babangida,
Very
Abacha.
true. Very true.
But I remember waterboard bill, blue collar, and we paid that.
Yes. So true.
I remember turning on the tap and the water will be green, then it will clear up.
Yes.
If it broke somewhere, somebody will call
Come
them and they will fix it.
Very true.
I remember our meter, our power meter, it was working. If they took the light by 1, you know to be back before Sesame Street by 4:30.
Very true. Very true.
Security then was also an issue, but not the way it is now. At least then it was armed robbery.
Yes.
And if you had nothing, they're not coming to your house.
Very
if
true.
you could maintain a low profile, you're fine. There was nothing like somebody's going to come and kidnap you, not to even talk of Boko Haram.
Yeah.
I was the kind of person that was saying a Nigerian can never kill himself. But we had suicide bombers in the same country. And today, when the rest of the world has gone literally
Further
to
ahead.
space, to space, access to space now, you can pay for it to get there. Nigeria is still dealing with fundamental problems. And the terrible part of the whole thing and the embarrassing part of the situation is that this is people over the world are seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
And professionals like myself working abroad say, wow. You're Nigerian, what is going on?
Yeah.
And you really can't explain it. You don't have a reason why it is. I am still looking for that answer. What is the root cause of our demise today? And I just think it's a collective effort that we have to all decide that we cannot take this anymore.
Yeah.
And then try to turn a new leaf in this journey. Because whatever we put now, as they say, the best time to plant a tree is today.
Yeah.
We have not even found the seeds to put in the ground to start to plant today. So I'm sorry to disappoint any of your audience, Hadiza, but I'm not so optimistic about the future if I take in the mid to long term. So I think before Nigeria can start to see progress, to be an attractive destination for people to come to for real tourism or business investment, which is not just about taking what I can take now, but really long-term business investments that I think we have 20 years to go. And yes, we have a democracy now, yes, sort of their elections, we choose our leaders. But honestly, I think that is one aspect of it, because once the leadership is not getting things right, then you can forget about the followership as well.
Very true.
But the followership as well has to change some fundamental ways they think day to day. A father needs to change the way he thinks and behaves towards his family.
Yeah.
The sister needs to change how she thinks to the brother, the teacher to the students, the gate man to his children. So everybody needs to kind of understand what is the basic way to behave to another human being.
Yeah.
And then when you understand that this is how it is for a normal person to behave, try to adopt that. So I think you can change all the leadership. It doesn't matter who, somebody will be there. But what is being done to change the mindset of the average Nigerian?
Yeah.
And that Nigerian in the middle of Borno somewhere on what is the right way to behave as a human being. I think that is the fundamental question. If you can get that principles of behavior right, then you can start to build. But I think there will be a need for a national or reorientation.
Yeah.
There has to be maybe 3 fundamental courses taught from primary school, at least from primary 1 to GS3. And maybe it's civic course, ethics, call it whatever. But it is simply saying, hey, if I do bad to you and you do bad to me, and everybody's trying to protect, this is my farm, this is my own, not to share.
Yeah.
Then a country is a collective. Yeah. And it's not you have to be able to see what works together. And all those religious, ethnic, it's just recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So there has to be a fundamental change of both the leadership and the followership. And unfortunately, I'm not so optimistic about where we are going right now, because that's the thing. Coming back to Nigeria now, you also, I've been away for about 6 years, 7 years until I came on this trip. And then you still have that, like even that's the bar, everybody wants to be served.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, to be quicker for me to pay right there, bring the bottle ourselves.
Yeah.
So that feeling that, okay, I'm paid, let me relax. It's not efficient, because I could have gotten these drinks for us now immediately. And the point is getting what you want quickly, not waiting because you want to be served,
feel like
or you want the gate man to open the gate, or everything has to be, that's these are the rich. I'm in Switzerland, Lisa. Everybody knows the standard of living in Switzerland is extremely high, and wealth in Europe, it's there in Switzerland. People are rich, but you don't see it blatantly in your face. You will see the Lamborghini, but it will be grey. You will see the Rolls Royce, but it will be. Nobody talks about money. Everybody wants to be.
Normal,
you know what you have in your account, but you don't want to stand out.
Yeah.
Because of that feeling that you want people to be able to engage with you for who you are and not what you have.
Yeah.
So these are the kind of
mindset changes
that we need to go through. And the unfortunate thing, Hadiza, is that we go outside, we behave the way they behave, because if you don't integrate and behave like where you are from, you cannot do anything there. You'll be a black sheep. So we are very good at blending in, but when we come back home, we quickly go back to the way things work here. And why that happens, I really have no idea.
I think it still circles back to what you said about seeing ourselves as, a collective rather than just individuals in a place.
Absolutely.
I think there's a mindset of a lot of Nigerians that feel like we were just tied together. So we're together by force, not by love. We don't have a deeper sense of love for our country. So, and where there's no love, there's no respect. So that's why we can throw trash on the road and then we go somewhere else and we wouldn't dare do that. So you've hit the nail on the head. It's a deep, fundamental mindset shift that has to occur.
And the excuse we used to hear back in the time is that, Nigeria was not meant to be Nigeria. The British came. This was probably supposed to be Yoruba land, the northern
Igbo land and Hausa land.
And then you brought people who are not understanding each other together to form a country, and that is why we have the problem. We have to blame it on somebody else. That was how many years ago now? Over 60 something years ago.
3 or 4.
Okay,
or 5.
First of all, you cannot. It's now old, that excuse. That's one.
True.
Nigeria is not the only country that was brought together. You had 100 years ago a war in Europe, a World War II in the whole world. Germany was the devil, and now they are to make an impact. Not just take this one now, because it will finish,
of course,
and then you're back to square one. So this Niger Wives Association I told you in my intro, they have been doing a lot for the community, quietly, no noise. But behind Sacred Hearts Primary School, there's a School of the Blind.
Oh yeah, I knew of that school.
And these women got together and said, let us build a Braille library for the school. Take the most critical books, get the Braille printed in Lagos, and these are going to be something huge like this for the learners, like slabs. Braille with the that they can read, and then when they had learned how to read, then it can be a little bit smaller. So they put a lot of money, built the Braille, set up the Braille library. Miss Ede was very much involved. She's into library skills. Set this thing up in the school. This is going to impact hundreds of kids' lives that they can at least read.
Very true.
Almost no support from government for this kind of thing. Set up the library and everything. Okay, they are Braille teachers. Start to do your thing. After a couple of months, I'm not exactly sure the timeline. Windows fell apart, door fell apart, no maintenance. They shut down the Braille library. So all that investment gone now for infrastructure decay and collapse there. Meanwhile, everybody is telling me Kaduna I will not recognize anymore. It's transformed. If I go here, I will not recognize infrastructure, bridge. Great, but there's a level below that people need to read and write, do basic arithmetic before they can take advantage of a flyover. So understanding what is the priority is a huge problem. that you choose to the projects which are visually wow.
Yes.
But the one that means something, people have even paid for the brave. All you need to do is make sure that at least people don't come in and destroy this thing. Let there be a window, let there be a door, lock it up. That one, and this is the story about people trying to really make change.
Yeah.
You set up a borehole in a village somewhere that the community can get clean water from. Somebody will come and steal the pump that needs to transport the water.
Yeah.
That is literally taking a knife and stabbing your own self because probably your children are there. So that live for today mindset.
Yes.
That is the same thing with in the area I'm from, the Niger Delta area.
Yeah.
You cannot be burning raw petrol there. That is another crazy thing. How can these guys refine diesel in the bush and then the government cannot make a refinery work? Kaduna refinery is in a year produces our consumption for a day. Isn't there something wrong? So Hadiza, that thing about making a difference, very important, because doing something is better than doing nothing. But also, when someone is making a difference, the mentality or the culture, the mindset that leads other Nigerians to frustrate that effort has to be tackled.
Very true.
And this is the thing that we need to sit down and say, why do we behave like this? Why? And then if you can, and I'm sure you get people together, why not set up a national conference around why Nigerians behave like this?
Yeah.
As opposed to, let us set up national conference for wah. Let us all come together and say, why are we like this?
Yeah.
Huh? And then, that is the conversation that needs to happen.
Very true.
Exactly.
Very true. So I want you to touch on what you were talking about when you were talking about the paying tithes and things to have a clear conscience, because it's like you got caught a bit there.
Yeah.
So I want you to finish that train of thought if you can.
Yeah, it's also the thing about, you pay the tithes, you have a clear conscience, but you are not holding who you have paid the tithe to accountable to say, what have you done with the money I gave you?
Yeah.
Look at the church, for example. Name the big ones here. I don't need to put anybody on the spot there. We don't even know how much they collect every month as tithe. First of all, there's no transparency. Nobody can tell you how much. But we see the lifestyle of these, what do you call them now?
Men of God.
Men of God, but there's a word we use here, general overseer. Daddy GO kind of things, general overseer. We see their lifestyle.
Yeah.
You are coming to tell me how to be a good Christian in an Armani suit. You are coming to tell me how to be a good Christian, and you have a school and I have to pay.
Yeah.
You are not, everybody pays the same. And then worst of all, you are not even living a life that I would like to emulate. And then what is the Nigeria? We just try to find an excuse. Yeah. They will quote that part of the Bible. I'm not even sure if it's, I've not even bothered to read it, but they will say, do not question the man of God. Yeah. It's more about what he's delivering than. No, words have to go with action.
Actions, yeah.
Let the man of God be going to church in an innocent car.
True.
Let the man of God be all the tithe, let it go so that he looks like his audience.
Yeah.
This is and Nigerians are so easy to impress, so easy to satisfy. Small things can delight us.
Yeah.
Gestures like this mean a lot. And then that message that our Daddy Gio is wearing bedroom slippers. Our Daddy Gio is driving innocent car. Our Daddy Gio's son is going to federal government college. Our Daddy Gio has just one wife and he's happy with that.
Yeah.
If he can do it, why can't I do it? Shame them by setting the good example.
True.
The big man in Nigeria needs to be shamed.
Very true.
Needs to be shamed. This is like, it's basic. But nobody knows what is tithe in not even, forget about tithe, because even that's a controversial topic.
Yeah.
But just saying, hey, my church audience, I have 20,000 people in this room. Our project is to solve clean water in I don't know, Yelesu in Zaria. That is our project. We're going to do that. Let us make sure that happens. And it happens, 2 years from now, that place has clean water. That Yelesu is in Zaria somewhere. If the community of Yelesu say, hey, XYZ church is the one that provided us clean water, church in a Muslim-dominated area, isn't that a better example that in the Bible that you treat, it doesn't matter who you are, you do good to everybody.
Very true.
That one has a more amplifying effect now than
true.
What are they doing with the money in these churches? What are they doing with it? I'm sure it's the same also with the Imam and the Alfa. I'm sure it's the same.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's the same. Just I can't speak to that because I'm not aware.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it still comes back to what you said about the consciousness of our reality.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us are very unconscious. A lot of these leaders are very unconscious, because a religious leader is as much a leader as a political leader, because you have the audience, you have influence, people listen. If you say jump, they'll say how high,
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, not understanding the depth of that power and just using it for whatever it is as is working for them, in the scriptures and everything else they believe, is what now turns back to become a very unfortunate situation for the masses. Because the reality of things is that a quarter of the people in those churches are not living the kind of lives that the men of God are living, but because I don't want to blame, colonialism and all of those things, but I think there is we have adopted this slave mentality so deeply, in our society, that we just have the mindset of, okay, there's supposed to be somebody who is a leader that we're worshiping, then the rest of us can be, even if we're scrambling, we're begging, it's fine, because that is just how things are supposed to be. So really, real change has to come from that mindset of a thing. And
Absolutely.
I don't even know where we can start with that, but as long as we're taking the steps now, we're having the conversations, we can just say there's a tiny, very tiny ray of hope, but it's there. Because I know that it's not just me, it's not just you. There are lots of people that, even though it's not choking them, they can see, they have the eyes to see and say that no, this is not good enough. We deserve better, our society deserves better, people deserve better, and we cannot continue to sidestep the issue like it's not there. So seeking each other out and figuring out how we can make a deliberate change is, really going to help us.
Yeah, because our future is at stake.
Yeah.
The country is at stake.
Yeah.
Our own comfort and look. At one point in time, after finishing the MIT program, my plan was to come back to Nigeria. I had an interview with Cummins in Lagos. I was offered the role, West African supply chain manager, everything. I was dating my wife then. She was in Switzerland at the time.
Okay.
I tell her, hey, let's go to Nigeria. Let's go. And I was driven by, I've gotten this knowledge, I've gotten the experience. There's a good offer in there. Let me go there. Even if it's just my own tax that will be paid to the Nigerian government.
Society, basically.
Let me contribute that way. Which is the opposite. Everybody wants to leave, and I was going the opposite direction. And fair enough, my wife said, hey, you take me out of Switzerland now. Take me to Nigeria. We're just dating. What is my safety net? What happens if this relationship doesn't work?
Yeah.
And now you have brought me here, so please, I can't go now. You come here, and then we see how it goes, and then when the relationship is established, then okay. I said, fair enough, let's do that. I go there, we start working, kids come, and that's once the kids show up in the situation, it's no longer about you and my own, because my wife is from Ethiopia. They have their own challenges as well.
Yeah.
How will I do that? I'm going to take to satisfy my own desire to contribute something. I'm going to put the whole family.
At risk, basically.
Is this really an environment that I can say with good conscience that I'm going to breed or raise my heirs, my future? So self-interest always comes, and that is why, Hadiza, the power of youth should not be wasted. That freedom, that independence, that energy, that flexibility when you are fresh out of university, single, no kids, that is where
Time.
every revolution everywhere in the world were driven by that class. And that class in Nigeria is so muted, not having any influence, nobody listens to them.
True.
So that class needs to come to a point that you are forced to listen to them. Because once you have all these things, children, a wife, elderly parents that you are supporting, literally, and not just the ones here, because my wife is also Ethiopia, it's in the same situation as Nigeria. You have all these people who are dependent on your own progress and everything, then making decision to say I drop everything and go, it's a hard one, but it's still one which I always battle with, and it's going to happen one way or the other. But at some point you have to see what is the number one priority, and unfortunately it's not Nigeria, it is what I have created, the people I brought, my family. So somehow I can understand that some of our problems too in Nigeria is that selfish interest, that you have family, you have dependencies, let me grab now so that at least my small is okay.
It's okay, yeah.
So it's really a big sacrifice. It's really a big sacrifice.
It does see one. To me, I don't know, I cannot thank you enough for expressing yourself so unbiasedly. These conversations about Nigeria are not easy ones, and they are very heavy because it puts our reality in our face, but at least beginning to talk about it is a step in the right direction. So thank you for coming on here. Thank you for expressing yourself, giving us our problems, a little bit of solutions, and I know you will always be available to work with, contribute in little ways that you can to actually make a change in Nigeria. So if you have any last words you want to say to us.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity, Hadiza, again. But I think it's always good to do the things that we can actually do, that you don't need money for, that the average man can do that means something, the average woman can do that means something. And that is what I can say to wrap this up is just to be more present and conscious of our actions and our deeds. Think before you do.
True.
And do the things that you can do that require nothing. We all have, or you guys here who can afford it, all have domestic staff, servants. These servants have children and family. Sometimes these servants are spending time with your own children. Meanwhile, their own children are back home. Can you take a moment when your servant is cooking in that hot kitchen to cook your whatever you want to eat, you and your family relaxing in the AC in the living room, eating the product of that. When that food comes to your table and served, take a moment before you put it in your mouth to put yourself in that person's shoes that has made that food. And think about that. If you are a human being, you will feel something. Think about, because children are sponges absorbing everything that is going on. My 6-year-old is absorbing how I interact with my wife, how I behave, how involved I am in her life, how I answer her questions, which are millions of them. Being conscious of our behavior, especially in front of the children, is exactly the ingredients to cook a successful future. How we do that, this is what is the problem of Nigeria. We create a cascade effect where the adults are teaching the children bad behavior, and the children grow up with this and teach their children, and this is now causing the vicious cycle, and we need to break that cycle. So it's simple. Just be present and conscious. Put yourself in the other person's shoes. And when you feel that way, you will take a different action. You will tell that child of yours, go and take your food from the kitchen. Go and save yourself. This person I'm the one paying the help's work. Respect that helper. He is doing a job. To work is to pray. Pay him his salary on time. Don't disrespect him. Don't humiliate him. Make him feel there's a dignity in service.
Yeah.
Don't, because these children will learn this thing.
Yeah.
And then you are breeding a child that's not capable to deal with the rest of the world.
True.
And then we'll only succeed in Nigeria. Or take this nonsense. Look at the situation of Ekuremadu in UK.
Yeah.
Do you know that some people are trying to say they don't see what is wrong there?
Yeah.
You don't see what is wrong there, then you are not seeing what is wrong there.
True.
Because you are a big man, that doesn't mean you can do what you want.
Yeah.
And in the rest of the world, look at James, look at people like Ibori, a convicted criminal. We couldn't convict him here because our system, the big man gets away. They say no, we convict him there. He serves his time there, sent to Nigeria, and on TV we see him, the president. Dokubo Asari, known militant, divisive figure. You have front page on newspaper with the president. Even he's an influential person.
Yeah.
You want to get things done in Niger Delta, you need to work with Asari or Tompolo, all these people.
Yeah.
But you have to do it in the background. We don't need to know what you did with them. But when you show people of questionable character,
you're endorsing
which our number one figure,
yeah.
What are you telling the children?
True.
What are you telling them? So basically, to wrap this up, Hadiza, I'm not saying we need to, everybody, be conscious of your actions.
Yeah.
Think before you talk. Understand that every action has a reaction and it creates a cascade effect. So what you do today is not for tomorrow, but for 10 years from now. So these are the simple things, apart from the more complicated things, by really bringing people to really have that agenda. What is the Nigeria supposed to be?
Yeah.
And what are the behaviors that enhance dignity, respect, and put Nigeria at par? Look, in the news anymore, when you watch whatever is the international channels, you don't even hear about Africa. The world has left us or moved on. People, when 2-3 people die from whatever train crash in France or wherever, it becomes, in fact, even Nigerians start to even pray for them there France. On there. Meanwhile, you have like a cowboy movie. You have a train between 2 central points in the north being attacked by bandits. What they call, like cowboy movie, train heist. It happens,
yeah,
and it doesn't even hit
the
world radar, because they have said that African problem, African solution, we leave our hands out. Don't blame, even Nigeria now, they say France, this thing, put hand there. Everybody is looking for their own self-interest.
True.
A French society does not care what happens to Nigeria.
Very true.
They have their own problems to deal with.
Yes.
So don't expect that a government will not try to exploit you.
Yeah.
It is your responsibility to make sure you're not exploited. And
Very
then
true.
You are sitting on the table on an equal footing with these people.
Yeah.
They will come. One country will say we are doing African summit, bring all the African presidents, sit together with one president in Europe or one president in Japan. Everybody will gather there, something. Are you not putting yourself, can you bring the whole of Europe to come and gather in Nigeria to come and speak with Tinubu? Who is going to? They will send their whatever. So these are the things that, we need to change.
Very true.
And I have not even talked about investment. These are just behavior, attitude, mindset, consciousness, present. Try to understand that. Look for the human side.
Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I can only hope that these conversations will have, the kind of ripple effect that it should have, because the more we ignore the problem, the more it grows, the more it eventually swallows everybody up.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much.
It is our future at stake.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, and hopefully we'll have more conversations and maybe in better conditions by then.
We are all connected now digitally, so it doesn't matter. We're there, and I'm always available for you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So if you watch this video to the end, first of all, I want to say a big thank you for watching to the end. I know the video is rather long, but thank you for your patience. If you are Nigerian, if you live in Nigeria, I know that this video would have resonated with you in one way or the other. And The truth of the matter is, as it concerns our country right now, it is a collective responsibility that is literally banging on the doors of all of us to wake up to. Nigeria is our country, is the only country that we have, and we have to ensure that we can leave it a better country for the generations to come. That is our responsibility. So I want to thank you all for watching. In the coming weeks, I'm going to be putting up things that I believe here and there that can actually help to change the trajectory of the country, and I hope I will get your total and complete support. So thank you so much to everyone who has watched. One more time, if you have not subscribed, I would really love and appreciate that you subscribe to this channel. It really does help me, to create great content like this, and share my video also if it resonated with you. Thank you so much for watching once again. And if you haven't watched my video on how a Nigerian built an amazing chain of businesses in Nigeria, I would love for you to click on the link showing right now, and I will see you there. Thank you for watching.